Good morning. My name is Victoria Leva, and today I'm going to be talking about why every person should worry about climate change. So, I'm going to specifically talk about how this affects our oceans. So, first of all, our oceans are important to us because we rely on them for jobs, food, and energy. Also, the coast of our nation alone contributes to 39% of the population. So, in terms of economics, our GDP very much relies on the ocean. Also, our oceans are in charge of redistributing heat and carbon dioxide. So, how are we impacting this? How are we hurting our oceans? So, human caused carbon emissions influence our oceans' ecosystems through ocean warming. And 90% of the warming is due to carbon emission. This impacts sea levels, productivity of ecosystems as well as our own, and also biodiversity. So biodiversity is affected through behavioral changes in species such as habitat use and predator avoidance. Also, it changes the phrenology. So phrenology is basically the timing of important biological events. This affects the position of the food chain in terms of abundance of primary producers to consumers. So if there's not a balanced amount of one or the other, then the flow of energy through the food chain is out of whack. This could cause a decrease in fitness, it could disrupt the persistence of different populations, and it will increase the amount of extinctions that we see throughout our time here. Our oceans are also affected by climate change through ocean acidification. So the excess amount of CO2 has a direct and independent effect on ocean chemistry. The increased concentration of dissolved carbon dioxide does help photosynthesis, which will increase algal blooms, but also this will increase the amount of hydrogen ions in the water, which makes the water more acidic. This is not good for a lot of species like calcifiers. Calcifiers, they create their protective shells, so like phytoplankton, they create their protective shells based on the amount of calcium that's in the water, and when there's a lot of hydrogen ions, that steals away a lot of the calcium ions, and there's not enough in the water to help those species. Climate change also produces ocean deoxygenation, which this occurs because warm water holds less oxygen due to oxygen solubility. This reduces the transfer of oxygen below the surface and alters photosynthesis and respiration. This is more apparent in tropical areas rather than colder areas, obviously, because tropical areas are already warmer than colder areas. So how can we help? Solutions being in order to protect certain species and certain ecosystems, we need to protect older individuals in certain species. So, for example, turtles. We're seeing turtles become less and less prevalent on our planet today. So it's important to create protective measures for them. And in terms of lowering our carbon dioxide emission, because you can protect all the species that you want, but in the long term it's really about how to lower our carbon dioxide emissions. So we need to reduce the global atmospheric CO2 emissions, especially in large urban areas, because this varies by our locations. So large urban cities are more prone to have higher temperatures and higher carbon emissions because of population, also the urban heat effect, and more vehicles emitting carbon and other toxins into the atmosphere. We also need to create more infrastructure that doesn't use fossil fuels. Again, that's not good for our atmosphere. We need to stop cutting trees down because the trees actually store carbon dioxide, which helps our atmosphere, which will ultimately help not to increase our temperature as much. And also, carpooling and using mass transit is very important. We need to slowly but surely reduce our carbon footprint. And also, I feel like we need to make electrical cars a little bit more available to middle and lower class individuals. And I feel like that could really have a huge impact. So, thank you for watching. Have a great day.